Unfortunately, holiday time isn't enjoyable for everyone. And I've been thinking about this over the past few days because I was recently asked by someone, how to handle the holidays, especially when your abuser might be at the table and the people who didn't protect you from them may be around the table. The people who have encouraged you to push away your pain and pretend like it never happened. How can you be around them and pretend you're happy? And I know this difficulty well. I've shared, before that I've been sexually violated by 8 men, and I'm starting to be more open about the fact that the first three of those men were family members. And so this was something for many years of my life I had to deal with, the holidays where it was supposed to be a time of celebration and happiness and practicing gratitude for all you have and smiles and love. And it was heartbreaking for me because I had to be around these people who hurt me over and over and be around the people who didn't protect me from them, and I had to pretend that I was happy when I was dying inside. And if I didn't pretend I was happy, then I was criticized and I was blamed, even though some people didn't know what was happening. They couldn't understand why somebody wouldn't be happy at holiday time. But there's a lot of us that aren't happy at holiday time, but yet we force those smiles and we pretend we're happy, just to make the others around us comfortable and satisfied. But we pay a heavy price for that because the more often we have to put on that mask pretending we're okay when we're not, the more that mask becomes our default. And we just become great pretenders walking through life. And in some ways, yeah, we have to do that. I mean, nobody wants a sourpuss, all the time. But it's sometimes we need to be able to take that mask off. And unfortunately, our family may not be the people we're able to take it off with. Okay, so and if that's the case for you, then maybe you need to keep wearing that mask at least for the time being. But when it comes to holiday time, um, we have to do a variety of things to just sometimes make it through. And so I want to share a few things that I've done to make it through the holidays. Now, when I left my home and was able to make decisions about who I would be around and wouldn't be around, I made the conscious decision to not come home for holidays. Like, there were many Christmases in a row I didn't come home. I created other plans. And so I would have big trips planned for those times. And, luckily during a lot of this time, I was a college professor and I only had one of my breaks happened to occur between the Christmas and New Year's time. And so I didn't have to explain that I wasn't coming home because I just didn't want to be home at that time. I could easily say that I was going away, and it was one of the only times that I could go away. And it was true, and I've always liked, and please know that I'm not trying to shame you if you don't choose this path, but I've always tried to use excuses that were truthful, or were some foundation in truth, because I have always tried to do better and be better than my abusers. And, sometimes I can't always do better and be better because I have to do what is necessary to survive. Okay. And so if that's the case for you and you've got to make up a story that isn't true, well, you do what you need to get through. And there's no shame in that. Okay. But I have always, when possible, tried to use truthful things. And so I would use things like my eating disorder. And because it truly is a problem for me at holiday time with just an enormous amount of unhealthy food surrounding me, an enormous amount of pressure to eat. It is very difficult for me with my eating disorder that I've struggled with since I was a teenager. And so it's been very easy for me over the years to say, I'm not going to come home or be home, for this period or on this day because it's just too difficult for my eating disorder. And so, what I've done over time is just be very honest with people in my life and say, this is a difficult time for me. And that I need to do something else on those days. And so what I've done instead is that, there are some family that I want to be around at holiday time. And so what I've chosen to do instead, like if I choose to opt out of being at a family gathering on a certain day, I will choose to spend time with the family I want to be around on a different day. So for years, I've gone and spent a special time with select family members, the week before, after a holiday time. And that has helped me because it allows me to be in control of my interactions. And for the family that knows certain experiences that I've had, I would be honest with them and say, I just can't be around this time. It's too difficult for me being around this person. But during the times when I was a teenager and in my, even when I first started going to college, I didn't feel like I had the ability to say no. I wasn't going to come to the family gatherings because at that point I didn't most people didn't know about the abuses I had experienced by certain family members, and they didn't know the struggles that I was having. And so I didn't feel ready to tell anyone, and I didn't, necessarily feel that I would be supported. So during those years where I went to family gatherings and I had to put on my mask, it was really difficult. And so, one thing that I did do during those times is I would take naps. I would use the reason that I ate a lot to go take a nap on the couch, so while other people, so I would be around for portions of the gathering, but then I would find ways to not stay at the table or in a certain room for as long as everybody else. I would go and I'd go in another room and take a nap. Or I would find, like if there were children around, I would use that as an excuse to put my focus on them instead of the adults in the room. Sometimes what I would do, like if it was Christmas time and I was given a gift that I could do something active with, then I would immerse myself in that. Activities. So if it was an art project or if it was a book, I would focus on that. If it was a holiday, like let's say Thanksgiving, where gifts weren't necessarily part of the deal, what I would do is look for an activity to do with family members that I did enjoy being around. And so I like to play cards, so I would play a card game with certain family members or some kind of puzzle or something where it would allow us to and me to focus my energies on people I enjoyed being around, and it would be a distraction. And so I encourage you to think of these things as holidays roll around, or just significant days in your life where, graduations and birthdays and just different, weddings, events where you're going to be expected to be around people that you don't either feel safe around, or you feel angry at or resentful towards, or it just brings you pain to look at them and or just remind you of what you've been through. I encourage you to start thinking ahead of time of how you can handle those days. So instead of getting to the day and figuring it out in the moment, have a plan. So have a plan to go spend the holiday with a good friend instead of with your family. Have a plan to go away that day. Have a plan of something to bring with you. So if you have to go to that event, put something in your control, like control as much as you can. So bring a game with you, bring a puzzle with you, bring a book with you, bring something that will be a distraction for you or will bring you together with someone or a few people you do want to be around with and can allow you to separate yourself from the people in the room that you don't want to spend a lot of time with. And think about these things ahead of time. And again, put things in your control and not in someone else's. And yeah, you may have to force your smiles and you may have to stuff down your pain just once again. But the hope is that as each year goes on, you're going to develop more tools and more resources for handling these difficult days. And eventually you'll get to the point where you can opt out of those days and just say, I'm not going to be there. And maybe you don't even be on, like my family now, because I've missed so many holidays, I don't have to give an excuse. I don't have to say I'm not coming home because of my eating disorder. I don't have to say I'm not coming home because this person will be there. I just say I'm not coming home. And they don't question it because it's just something I do now. They know that being at the family gatherings is something I am not always a part of. And so I've gotten to that point where I don't have to explain myself. And so that's possible to reach that point as well. And so meet yourself where you're currently at and also meet your family dynamic where it's currently at and do what you need to get through it in this moment. And each time you're going to get a little better at it and see your options and which work best for you and which you need to tweak going forward. But just, take one day at a time, one holiday at a time, and just work on incremental improvements to yourself and to situations. And that's the best we can do. And I think it's important for you to know that your feelings do matter and your pain does matter. And so even if people want you to pretend that you're not in pain because it's a special time of year, I need you to know that you deserve to nurse your wounds and to tend to them and take care of them. And so do what you need to protect yourself, okay? And you deserve that opportunity to protect yourself, okay, in whatever way you need to, okay? So I wish you the best today and always. And please let me know if you have any questions along the way. All right, bye for now.